Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today I'm going to go part two on why do breakups happen. It's a big topic, it's a big fucking question. And so it deserves a little bit more attention. And as I mentioned in the live stream yesterday, um, I'm gonna put this in categories because there isn't a cut and dry short answer to why do breakups happen. And the answer that would be a question with a question would be, why did your breakup happen? And that's what your best way to handle your individual situation is, to really come back to, like, wait a minute, do I want to tackle how all breakups happen, or do I really want to get to the nuts and bolts, roots and twigs of my breakup? Because what you're looking for is you're looking for commonalities, confirmation bias, if you will, in oh, well, all breakups happen like this, so this can make me feel a little bit comfortable. And the reality is that there's intricate little details, perceptions, interpretations to your breakup story, that are different. And so you need to write your story out and get it to someone, get it to yourself, get really clear on what the fuck happened and why yours happened, what your reasons were, what your responsibilities were. Not who's to blame, but who's to take responsibility. Are you wanting to apologize? Why are you wanting to apologize? There's all kinds of things. But here's the thing. If you want me to put it in categories, and this is what I'm working on in a chapter in my book right now, why do breakups happen? I'm going to give you a part two, and I'm going to give you a specific category that's very common. That from this category, there can be different veins to a breakup. And yesterday I called it growth blocking. I don't know, I might change that term. But basically, part one was about the fact that one individual is growing quite a bit, whether that's in work, spiritually, health wise, looks wise, or all of them. And the other individual in the relationship is stagnant or neutral, and they don't like the fact that their partner is growing in that direction. Or the other person has no desires, no goals, no nothing, and they're really bothered by their partner in a growth phase. And this creates instant breakup. Or both people are growing, but they're growing in completely different directions. So all of those all of those scenarios block the growth of you and your partner. The ideal relationship is you're growing in the same direction or similar direction, or you're growing in a way which supports each other. So, for example, like yesterday I mentioned, if you're in, I've said this before because it's come up in a story in the past, and I thought it was really interesting. Your girlfriend's a preschool teacher and a yoga instructor. Someone had sent this to me before, and he said she's a fucking preschool teacher and a yoga instructor. And in other words, like, it's so impressive, the character she has. And then I asked him, well, what do you do? Well, I have a decent job. He didn't even want to give me details. He wasn't excited about what he did for a job. He, wasn't proud about it. It's decent pay, so I probably wouldn't leave it. It's like, well, that doesn't line up with a preschool teacher and a yoga instructor that probably gets a lot of fulfillment, is really proud about what they do, and is in a health-based industry and is in an industry dealing with kids. And let's just say you're a banker and you're a bank teller and you hate it. You're in different directions, right? And you're like, well, I don't want to do yoga. Well, that's going to contribute to your relationship, right? So what's up, Luna Martinez? I hope you're well, bud. Retha, hi, how are you? And this is a live stream that's a little later for most of the crowd that comes on, but you know what? I'm making an effort to get a daily live stream out there, and I think this topic's going to be really good today because everyone is curious, why do breakups happen? Part two. And the category that the subcategory of this, like I said, growth blocking was yesterday, or blocking of growth of an individual. Still sounds awkward, right? If you're watching this later on, please in the comments, help me out with how to title this category. Growth blocking growth of an individual. It just sounds choppy, no? So the next place, why do breakups happen? People change their identity. This is a big one. It's actually a subtopic, but it's broad in itself. Identity changes can improve one's growth or hurt it. So I'm looking at this separately than the idea that growth affects breakups. Okay. Identity change can improve one's growth or hurt it. When I say improve one, I mean the individual, not the relationship. Regardless, they change the person and their actions. Okay. You often find yourself wondering what happened to you, or you're not the same person. What happened to your ex? So this happens a lot. It's like your ex starts to change. They start to change their habits, their routines, and their outlook. And you think to yourself, this isn't the same person. I don't really like this. Or you don't even like to do such and such, only now they do. For example, your ex never liked to exercise. Your ex never liked to go out for drinks. And all of a sudden they're all in. They're working out 6 days a week, or they're all of a sudden they're all in and they're going out partying 4 nights a week. And you're like, what the fuck happened? They changed their identity. They probably changed their friends. They changed their outlook. And now you're going, this isn't you. And they change, and the change doesn't suit you, but they're happy with it. So you're going around telling them, why are you doing this? This isn't you. Human beings are allowed to change. I hear this a lot. People go, oh, people don't change. Yes, they do. They just have to have a reason. They have to have an environment change. People don't change as much as they get older and as much as their comfort level is. People are changing at a faster rate than ever before just because of the allotment of information on the internet. Think about that for a moment. So I have some examples here. Again, people change their identity. You're in a relationship with that individual, or you change your identity. This changes your morals, values, habits, routines, your outlook on life, the things you like to do for fun, and the other person doesn't like it. It doesn't line up with them. Example. Number one, they get a new job, get new friends, get a new religion, a new diet, a new look, a new salary, and the list goes on. They no longer are the same person you first started dating or the person you even knew 1 year ago. Okay. And people get in this situation. They're like, what the fuck? Why are you doing this? Why? They changed. Oh, people don't. Yes, they do change. Number two, in changing their identity, they've changed their morals and their values. I've said this already. They no longer like to drink alcohol, which you enjoy regularly, and you once look forward to spending a Friday night happy hour downtown with your girlfriend. Only now she quit drinking because vegans don't drink. You see where I'm going with this? It's like, oh, she became vegan for health reasons because she went to a spiritual retreat, right? And all these things transpire, and then all of a sudden she doesn't drink, and you're like, well, this is where we used to have fun. This results in breakups. She not only doesn't drink, but she despises you for doing so. So not only did the individual stop drinking, but now she's judging you for the fact that you're drinking all the time. You see where I'm going with this? And you despise her for changing and judging you. Friction, friction, friction. You feel like you don't have a problem and she was more fun when she drank more. She feels like her health and vitality have never been better. That's due to her giving up alcohol. You see where I'm going with this? Number three, sometimes you try to change with them or accommodate their new identity, but deep down you despise it and you despise yourself for putting up with it. Have you been there before? I have. Eventually you blow up and the relationship ends with an ultimatum or a huge fight over how they changed. They accuse you of being boring, not understanding, or that you should do more of that which they are doing. So I might go back over this because we only have 4 on deck, and I think this is a really good topic, and this is really good information and intel. But Raven Chris, not Chris Raven, it happens because they have found someone. That's why they change. Possibly, but not always. Absolutely, that could be part of the identity change, is that they met someone new and they really like them. Because anytime you meet someone new, whether that's a friend, a family member that's been out of your life for a while, a boss, colleague, fellow student, if you're in university, they can have an effect on your outlook on things. They can have an effect on your life. They can have an effect on your identity. But saying that that's what always happens in breakups, no, it's not. It's not what always happens. And so you really need to understand that there's, like I said, there's some subcategories to these why breakups happen. Um, and it's not necessarily your fault. And these are the most common ones: growth blocking and identity change. And here's the crazy thing: if you're not aware of psychology and subconscious, and how an identity change goes down, and there's loads of information on the internet, you don't even know you're doing it. The individual that's in the process, you can't. Here's a really interesting thing: you can't videotape yourself and watch all your actions, your ins and outs. And so, as a partner, you're looking at this person, and you're like, "Wow, you changed so much," because you see it from such a different perspective. They're just doing it subconsciously, and so they're not seeing the changes. But here's the crazy part. Here's the core of it. Is the identity change beneficial to their growth? Is the identity change helping them become a better person? And you have a problem with that. Then you have a problem with yourself. If the identity change involves them being a lesser person or impedes their growth, for example, they start identifying with doing hardcore drugs, or they start identifying with stealing, something that everyone could get behind and go, "Wow, this is really not the right thing." And you've maybe seen this before with teenagers or people in their early 20s. They wear different caps and costumes, and all of a sudden, Johnny gets in trouble with the police, and you're like, you were trying to steal car stereos out of a car, and they're like, "Well, yeah," and then you're like, "Who were you with?" And they always usually have a new friend that, well, Sam, I was with him. Who's Sam? Oh, I just started hanging out with him, and he's a friend of mine. He influenced you. Now, you still need to take responsibility as an individual for being influenced by another person, right? But that's part of learning when you're younger. But usually, you get in trouble and you go, "Wow, do I want to make this part of my identity, morals, and values, stealing car stereos?" No, the consequences are quite high, and I really don't like the feeling, right? Yes, that's why they change. It will always happen, especially. Okay, so this is where Raven Chris, thanks for entering the conversation, but this is a prime example. Patricia, how you doing? This is a prime example. Always happens means happen to you, but I believe it happens to everyone else too, which is not true. Now, don't take that as a negative. Just take it as me dropping a little bit of knowledge on you, okay? Because I've been doing this for a while. What happens is you go, that yes, that's why they change. It will always happen, especially when they were in a LDR and they monkey branch with a person that's near with them. So they change even if they know they will not grow. Tell me if I'm wrong, Raven Chris. Is this exactly what happened to you? Please answer that. If it did, I got some compassion for you, but it's not necessarily the truth to why breakups happen. It's the truth to why a breakup, an individual breakup, happened to you. Now, the trouble with this is if you go around and you go, "Yeah, this always happens," Raven Chris, in your next relationship, you're going to be looking for this, right? And what you should be doing is, like, first of all, LDRs have an expiration date on them, and they're not ideal. Okay, number one. Number two, this idea that they monkey branch. People use this term a lot, and I think they use it in a negative context, and they use it because their ex broke up with them and they went with someone else, and they didn't get with someone else right away. So they automatically think, oh, they just go to one person to another. And that's none of your business. If they do it or they don't do it, and if it works out or if it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter. I find, Raven Chris, and a lot of people talk about this monkey branching, right? You look at it and you're probably going, "Well, I need time, and I'm not just going to hook up with someone after I break up with them." Good for you, right? That individual might have met someone that lines up with them, and they might want to explore it. And you're sitting on the sidelines as a spectator and you're going, "Look at them, they monkey branch." G Money, been looking for you in the daylight with a flashlight, my friend. So you putting that label on the situation, a monkey branch, like I said, it just has a negative spin on it, right? Is it possible someone can pivot out of a relationship, meet someone that's a really good match for them, and be with that person for 2, 3, 4, 5 years and have a long? Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Um, thanks for the likes, Patricia. But getting back to all this, it's really interesting because these are the reasons that breakups happen. These categories that I'm talking about, right? Growth blocking, blocking the growth of an individual, and I think I broke it down pretty clean. Actually, it's like I'm writing this stuff out for the book, and I'm like, oh, this is coming along real nice because um, this is the problem when you're in the breakup. Been there, completely understand. You don't get it because in the breakup you're swallowed up by feelings and emotions, and usually you want someone to feel those feelings and emotions. You want someone to have some compassion for you, or you just want to get angry and go, why'd you do this to me? You don't appreciate me. But to take a step back, be objective, take an aerial view of the situation, and then you go, wait a minute, you know what? We're growing in different directions. Actually, we're impeding each other's growth right now. Now, that doesn't sound good. I'd rather say, well, she's taking a job she shouldn't really be taking. She's taking this job, and I know the boss really likes her, and she's got to wear sexy clothing to work. And if she continues doing this, she's going to really discount who she is as a human being. And the person will create this whole narrative, and then the female that he's with will go, I don't have a problem with the boss, and I don't have a problem wearing a short skirt and no panties. She'll just say that, and you'll be like, what? You can't do that at work. Yes, she can. Yes, she can. Why not? Right? And you're thinking, wow, why would you do that? Well, for her, looking a certain way at work, dressing nice, getting compliments on it, getting attention, that's her lane. And you're thinking, hey, that doesn't serve me. Breakup. That's the kindling to the breakup. You definitely need time and distance after a breakup to see it clearly. I agree, but here's what I would say. A little under the weather, Patricia, but life is good. Good answer. I would say that I really want people to get away from the fact that if their ex is in a rebound or monkey branching, seeing someone else, you don't want to be a spectator to that shit. You don't want to judge that. You don't want to even be any part of that. You want to go, they're with someone else. That's my clarity. That's my ticket on the bus. I'm getting out of town. I'm done with this. You don't want to go, oh, if they want to find me, they can find me. If they're with someone else, you can slice it, you can dice it, you can shape it, you can package it. They're with someone else. Once you hear that, do you really want to know the details about that individual? And then what are you going to do? You're going to do a biased measure up. Well, I make more money than him. Oh, cool, man. She's still seeing him. Someone just told me this recently that she started seeing someone else, right? Or how should I put this? She broke up with a guy. She's in her mid-30s. She broke up with a guy, mid-30s. The guy was older. So the guy was like, I think she said 13 years older. So she's 35, like 48. She's like, he's really good looking, looks like George Clooney, which everyone uses when they're saying good looking older guy, right? So she's like, he looks like George Clooney, kind of like salt and pepper. She's describing all his features. I'm like, yeah, okay. But he didn't want to get married or even think about having kids. And she's like, at 35, that's on deck for me. And so 6 months in, I was just like, wow, I really like his personality and everything, but I can't, I got a different finish line. It's actually fair play, right? But she said, oh, we continue to be friends. We're cordial. And the guy I started dating actually lives across the street from him just by chance. So she said the new guy she started dating, It's funny because they live in Singapore, right? So she said that this new guy that she started dating has a different job, and I think if I remember correctly, doesn't make as much money. I never asked someone like, "Oh, what's his job? How much is he making a year?" But she said he's making less money, which is, I think it's a status thing in a country like Singapore where business is paramount. A lot of people go to Singapore to work and make high salaries and make good money. That's just part of the subculture there, right? And so, good question, G Money. I'll get to it in a moment. Thanks for chiming in on that. So she was saying that this new guy, she goes out with the old guy for lunch and just chat, and she mentions the new guy she's dating, and the new guy immediately chimes in, well, where does he work? Well, he doesn't make any fucking money. Now, she started laughing. Then she goes and tells the new guy she's seeing, and that guy gets defensive and goes, I make damn good money, right? The whole time I'm going, this guy is judging the new guy that's dating your old girlfriend. I mean, completely biased, sour grapes, bitter Betsy. Like it's just like if I'm going to break up, let me put myself in the shoes. If I'm going to break up, I'm going to stay cordial with my ex, and I'm going to say, yeah, we could be friends. And this is possible. A lot of people say it's not possible. It is possible. Individuals can stay friends due to certain circumstances, which are based on their own breakup and where they're at in their life. I've done it. Okay. But my part is, if they come to you and they just throw a little dart about who they're seeing now and this and that, to me, they're putting a feeler out there to see if you kind of like care and where you're at. And to me, I'm like, I wouldn't down talk that individual because I don't really know them. I don't in secondhand information. And secondly, if they continue to do that, I'm like, yeah, this isn't really going to work because I know where you're going with this, right? And if the guy makes less money, who the fuck cares? I mean, if you guys are hooking up now and you're happy, good. So to me, the guy that mentions that, though, he just opens himself up that he's being insecure, right? She's seeing someone new, and the number one thing you're upset about is that she's seeing someone that doesn't make enough money. But the whole reason he says that is because he makes a lot of money, and that's how he measures people. So what's the best way to grow together as a couple? Just always be on your purpose, constant self-improvement. You know what? That's a really good question, G Money. I think that's a feel you would get as you were together. But now being 39 years old myself, being in a few rodeos, being in a few relationships, and looking back, and I'm going to touch on this in the book, looking back where the dots connect, all of them have had moments where you're like, damn, we're growing in different directions. We're becoming a lot different than we were when we first met. And when you look at it years later, it's crystal clear. It's snow water clear. And it's no one's fault usually. Now, what I would say, I would say I don't want to use the word easier, but when people get to their late 20s, 30s, mid 30s, and here's the thing, people change more now. They change their jobs more. They change their locations because the world is a smaller place. It's easier to get around. It's easier to communicate. It's the internet. But when you start dating someone, G Money, and you're just like, okay, so like, is this person someone I can grow with? That's not your initial thing. Usually, let's just be fucking honest. I talk about this all the time. There's trust, connection, and what else? Trust, connection, attraction. Attraction's first. If someone's, I don't place a lot of value on attraction. Bullshit. You need to be attracted to someone in the beginning, in some shape or form. You like their nose, you like their eyes, you like the beard, you like this, whatever. But you gotta be attracted to them physically in some way. That's the lure, right, Judy Jack? So in that moment, attraction doesn't have to be the number one thing over the long term of the relationship because attraction's fleeting. But you have to be attracted. So that's what gets you in. When you start dating, you start going out and the honeymoon phase is there and you got your intimacy right, your connection's growing, your trust is growing, because those are the things that take a little more time. Then you need to start taking notes. And I don't mean a notepad, but in your head when someone goes, oh, I'm always messy. Okay, like just an example. Or I hate when waiters get the order wrong. Little fucking things, right? Because they're telling you who they are, right? And their personality. And the I am statements really key in on those. Like if someone goes just out to lunch with a woman recently, and I was impressed, she had to take this test for a new industry. I'll just be broad with it. And she said like the test was semi difficult. She was an extremely good student in college and whatnot. And she goes, I wasn't sure. And she goes, I saw two people cheating. But she goes, I wasn't willing to cheat. I wanted to get it right. And she goes, I thought to myself, even if I don't get it right, at least I did it on my own and I'm going to learn from it. Now that's a growth mindset. That's impressive. Someone talks like that, take a note and go, 1 point. Someone talks like, oh, there were other people cheating, so I just did the same thing because I thought to myself, I'm not sure the answers either, and I want to make sure it's okay. -1 point. Because you're thinking to yourself, ooh, you're willing to cheat on a test? I'm not going to say that they're willing to cheat on you in a relationship. I'm just saying line up character points, right? How are they, G Money, how are they treating other people? How are they talking about their job? How are they talking about family members? And how are they talking about challenges? Do they welcome a challenge? Do do they talk negative when a challenge mounts up? That's a growth mindset. And the best book for, well, I don't know if it's the best book, but one of the books that really keys in on it is Mindset by Carol Dweck. And she talks at nausea about a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And most people, there's a strong majority of people, including myself in the past, that were fixed mindset. And when you're around these people, it's not necessarily going to come apparent when you first start dating and it's just attraction and intimacy. But as you get around them more and more, you'll start seeing some patterns, and how they treat challenges and how they treat other people is how they're going to treat you eventually, and how they're going to respond to you challenging yourself, right? Look at their body of work so far and look where they're headed. Are they in a job currently, G Money, where they're just treading water? Are they in a job currently where they hate it, but you know what, I couldn't leave because it's really comfortable and the pay pays my bills? That's not a growth mindset. You bring up a self-improvement book and they go, oh, I hate self-improvement, but she's really hot. You get me? You're like, no, but she's really hot and the intimacy is fantastic. Well, long term, you're sitting there talking about self-improvement book and you're looking to grow in a certain direction, and she's sitting there going, well, I really just like shopping at the mall and watching Netflix. And in the beginning, when it's lovey-dovey, you're like, this is great. After a year or two and you're trying to better yourself and do different things and improve, it probably gets old to, I don't want to shop every weekend. Just always be on your purpose, constant self-improvement. Yeah, well, I mean, as a couple, just be aware of who that individual is and who they're going to be long term. True rebounds are when they're not emotionally healed and with someone else in reaction to you. If you ignore it, it will crash on its own when they figure that out. Fair play. I'll agree with that. Coach Mac, where you are feeling hurt, sometimes you lost yourself, even if you are worth. Can you please write complete words, even if your English isn't good, even if you've misspelled words? You are advice. We're a great coach, Mac. I love it. Well, thanks, Raven Chris. I appreciate you, bud. Very welcome, G Money. Haha, you're a young guy, coach. People change and hopefully evolve. Evolve's a great word. Evolve's a great word. And I would say that if you're evolving, I hope you're improving. But that's where environment comes in. This is actually another chapter in the book. That's where environment comes in. This is why when people go, sharing a lot from the book here, but it doesn't matter, right? When I tell people, and not everyone's in this situation, I get it. They're in a breakup, they're having a lot of trouble, they're going through it, right? Story's different. There's a lot of individuals out there that are complaining about their job, their friends, their family members. It's environment. If beyond your breakup, just put your breakup on a separate plate, put it in a tinfoil packaging, and just fucking put it to the side. Like let's just put the breakup out of the picture. And we do this sometimes in coaching, but I don't shape it this way. Just put it to the side and let's just dissect for a moment your life as an individual. Now, if you're complaining about your friends, you're complaining about not having enough money, you're complaining about your relationship with some of your family members, right? This isn't a then the breakup's not your only problem. It's just the only problem that really hurt you recently. But if you're gonna get through the breakup part, all of a sudden you got a fucking opportunity to go, wait a minute, what's my fucking environment like right now? Because your environment shapes your evolution, right? If you're gonna evolve, it's gonna be dictated by your environment. This is why people go to college or university. Oh, you don't need to go to university these days to learn. Absolutely agree with you. But what does it do? It creates an environment, right? Someone goes to Harvard. People are impressed. Why? It's a prestigious school. Why is it a prestigious school? Because it's expensive? Well, the environment, I've never walked around Harvard. I'm sure it's gorgeous as an education establishment. I've met an individual last year that went to Harvard Business School, right? He's extremely proud of this. He keeps the email that says Harvard EDU. He wears Harvard shorts even 10 years later after he's out of it. I've seen people like this. They want to bring up, I went to Harvard. It's a prestigious fucking school, right? So if you have the opportunity to go there and you're thinking like, oh, it's a great education, it's a great environment because everyone that goes there is upper echelon growth minded. There might be a few people in there that are just rich, they're a legacy, this and that. But if you go there, you have no choice but to sink or swim with the big boys in the thinking world, right? Because it's highly competitive to get in there. It's environment. And I'll add something else. The competition in that environment is going to raise the bar for yourself. You're going to be hanging out with other people that are really good students, that have a high level of equity and learning and getting better. And so you're going to build connections. So when you think, oh, I don't need to go to Harvard. No, you don't. You can learn fucking pretty much everything on YouTube. But is your bedroom going to be the environment that's going to, I don't know, put you over the top? Right? As I'm sitting in a guest bedroom at a really close friend's house, right? Someone might look in the background like, where the fuck is this? Almost looks like a jail cell, right? It doesn't matter to me, right now and talking in this live stream. But the environment that I'm in outside of this serves me pretty well right now. I enjoy it. I don't complain about it. I don't go, oh, I hate this or I hate that or I hate this. Doing that, what people don't realize, you're cumulative of, I'm going to say this in a you're compounding interest of every piece of you. So if you're complaining about the traffic, if you're complaining about your friends being bad friends, if you're complaining about your job, all that shit counts in your relationship. And I just don't think people get that completely. And like I said, I'm just using Harvard as an example because let's just say someone goes, oh, I think Bill Gates dropped out of Harvard, if I'm correct. I think there's some people that dropped out and did just well for themselves. Am I wrong that the guy from Facebook was from Harvard too? I think, I'm not sure, and he drops out and ends up at Facebook. But if you watch the Facebook movie, he met other people that helped rise that company. Like everyone just thinks like, oh shit, what's his fucking name? Mark Zuckerberg. There you go. Everyone, oh, he's just this genius. Well, he rubbed elbows with some geniuses that elevated him. Steve Jobs. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he went to university for a little bit, or Stanford. I'm not sure. He definitely taught some classes. He rubbed elbows with Steve Wozniak, right? And whatever environment that was in. And then he rode his coattails into it, right? Environment counts. And so when I tell people like, hey man, you need to move, and they're like, oh, I don't like to travel, or I don't like this. Well, you're just going to be getting the same results over and over again. And when I say move, I don't know, you don't need to move another country, but you might want to move cities. You might want to move jobs, right? Well, I can't do that. Really? Or you won't. There's a fucking difference, right? You can't go without water, food, and sleep, or you'll fucking die, right? What else is there that you can't really do? Fly like Superman? I'm with you on that, but we do have hang gliders. I mean, a lot of people are extremely limited in what they can't do. It's just a matter of what they won't do, or they don't want to try it, and then they get this thing where they're like, "Oh, I can't," right? What's up, CBK? Clarabelle Cough? Calf or cough? It's funny in Thailand we'd say cough. Notifications are always late. Sorry, Rob. I don't know what the deal is, bud. Um, you just have to have similar values and views of life. This is the thing, though. Similar values and view on life can change with identity, can change with a job, can change with new friends. People my age are no longer trying to set the world on fire. They're appreciating the value of time and spending it how they want to. Well, that's a great thing, Judy Jack. I mean, there is some people that are older that are trying to set the world on fire. There's people on YouTube like that guy Dan Pena. Shit, man, have you ever heard some of his speeches? He's in his 70s and he's still trying. He's trying to go from a billion to a trillion. Um, Not sure if I agree with it, but he's fired up. Yeah, it's been a few streams. Hi everyone, please hit the like. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate it. I actually had a video a couple days ago. I had 6 likes and 2 not likes. Harvard and Princeton, for that matter. Harvard is an institution, and I agree, Coach. Very prestigious, high class people. And I'm just saying the environment. Let's say you go to Harvard and you get a bad teacher, and you're like, "Fuck, I know all this stuff already." You're not just paying for that. You're paying for the environment that puts you in a mode of prestige and upper echelon. You're paying for the people that are going to be in the class with you. It's like people when they put their kids in private school. I've always said this. You might not get better teachers, but you'll get better expectations because all the kids in those classes generally have parents that have higher expectations. You see how that's different? Because you could obviously say, well, the teacher from that private school is still teaching ABCs. They're still teaching, U.S. history. You're right. And some of the teachers probably aren't all 100% great. But the expectations of the school, the expectations of the fellow parents of the students, and the expectations of the students of themselves, most likely in most cases will be higher. Therefore, the environment is probably better in most cases for your kid to do well. What a gold mine that was. And then here's the crazy thing about Facebook. It wasn't the first social media site, right? Um, it was timing and circumstances. And so there's a really good book, and G Money knows it. The guy that did Dilbert, G Money, you like that book too, and it's outstanding book. How to Fail at Everything and Still Win Big. What's his name? God, my memory's bad for the first time in a while. Anyhow, that guy talked about timing and him doing Dilbert the comic strip. And people sometimes have ideas that are really good, and they execute and they do different things. Like there was plenty of things that tried. Scott Adams, thank you, G Money. Scott Adams, if you guys haven't heard of it, How to Fail at Everything and Still Win Big is a great book. I don't know if it's just self improvement or not. It's pretty down to earth self improvement. It's not woo woo, and it's his story, so it's not bullshit. He also does a really good interview with Tim Ferriss if you want to YouTube that. And he talks about that in his book that before YouTube was around, there was a similar video sharing channel that just didn't hit it. They didn't hit the right timing. They didn't have the right investors or whatnot. Judy well said, perspectives change as time passes. It's calf. Okay, got it. Geez, some people are not satisfied with millions. They want trillions. It's crazy. Like I said before, I was saying before, I think that I find a lot of value in having money to do good things. I find a lot of value in making good money to improve your life and your family's life. I don't know when people get to the level of $50 billion. they should be required to give a lot of money back. I mean, it's just it doesn't make sense. Yes, like-minded people, they love learning, being well-educated. Nothing wrong with that. Scotty Adams, right? That happens in YouTube, like that, like that. Ryan's Toys. I'm not familiar with that. Judy Jack, can you elaborate? Right, that happens in YouTube, like that. Ryan's Toys. What do you mean? We got the dream team back on deck. Judy Jack, Patricia, G Money, Rob. Rob, maybe you're a little bit busy. I was just talking to a friend a couple of days ago. They're like, "You haven't been on the live streams. What's going on?" They never comment, but they always come on. I've been busy writing the book, so I've been kind of focusing on that on my free time and really digging into it. And then I share everything on the channel, on the live streams, right? Oh no. $1 trillion. I don't even know what you do with $1 trillion. Give it away. All right, we're at 40 minutes. Anyone got any questions here? Why do breakups happen? Part 2. I talked about each other blocking each other's growth. And I also talked about people having an identity change. You know, a really interesting exercise for a lot of you out there would be think about, you know, how many times you maybe went through an identity change in your life. You know, and a lot of people, when they look at when they're a teenager or a kid, like I think for a year, and I don't remember, maybe I was 6 or 7 years old. I loved skateboarding. It was only a year. And I was my babysitter's 5 or 6. My babysitter's son, who was in his 20s, he was older. He bought me a really cool skateboard, and at the time, it was like Tony Hawk was around when I was a kid. That's how old Tony Hawk is. And you know, like Thrasher magazine and all this stuff. It was only a year and a half, and I was done with it. But I had like skate magazines and skate stickers. Stickers were big. That was an identity for a little while, right? And then I played basketball for years, and that really stuck with me from like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way up to 13 or 14. Just loved to play basketball. And if someone said, "What do you like doing?" that would be the first thing I said. And, you know, you have good basketball shoes. Everything lines up with that. You start spending your free time doing it. Yeah, I took time off a while when my dad passes away. Very popular YouTube channel for a kid trying out toys at Blue. Oh God, I've heard of that. I've heard of that, Judy Jack. Someone told me about that recently. Oh, you lived in Germany? I just had a friend actually that lives in Munich. She's a big traveler, and I don't know if it's a fiance or not, but her boyfriend, they live in Munich also, and she's a New Zealander. Breakups happen because one party in a relationship feels different, whether it's commitment or moving forward. Maybe they feel different. That's one reason. That's one reason. That's tough, Judy. Sorry for your loss. I am sorry for your loss, Judy. I don't look forward to that day for myself. That's for sure. May I ask? May I ask how old he was? If that's too forward, you don't have to answer. I live in California. Coach lived in Germany. Really, 30 years. I've heard good things about Germany. Wow, that's a long time. A lot of sausage and beer, huh? There's a group of guys that stay at my house every year for the last 3 years. They Airbnb my house. Really cool dudes, and it's funny, in Germany they speak pretty good English, communicate in English, but me being a talker, the response will always be, okay, 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 okay. And I was just telling this to my friend that's her boyfriend, that they live in Munich, and she was just saying the communication's so different, a little bit more dry, a little bit more serious. And I'll be going on and on and on, and I'll be like, okay, okay, okay. You know, Americans will be like charisma, loud, volume. No, okay. Oh, Judy Jack, that just makes me sad, hun. Thank you, Patricia. Yes, it was incredibly hard just to attribute how amazing it was. Well, I'm really glad that you had a good relationship and you can call your dad amazing. Bratwurst. My mom passed away 2 years ago. It was a tough time. God, I don't look forward to that moment, folks. Or they believe the person they were with is not making them happy. That's true, Clara. That's true. And like I said, the growth thing, I think, is one thing that people don't see properly. Is that, and I'm guilty of this too in relationships. We see the world through a certain filter and how things should be and how we like them to be and what's best for us or just how things are. Like a lot of negative people, they're constantly looking at what's not best for them because they just think that's the way things are, right? And that can be extremely detrimental to their partner's growth because the partner is constantly trying to pick them up off the ground and cheer them up. And so, at some point, you got to make yourself happy. But the thing about happiness, everyone's got to come back to this again and again. Happiness is fleeting. Without the sweet, you can't taste the sour, as the great supporting actor, I don't know his name, in Vanilla Sky says over and over again. Without sour, you can't taste the sweet. And without the sour, you can't taste the sweet. And without the sweet, you can't taste the sour. And think about that for a minute. The only way you can really judge being happy is to actually be sad sometimes. The only way you can appreciate, fuck, I'm on top of the world right now, is because you've been at the bottom. Polarity, folks. You are responsible for making yourself happy. Can really do it for anyone. But what people need to realize is allow yourself. I think what happens now is there's so much self-improvement out there, which I'm a fan of, self-improvement books and rah you can make money and rah you can change your life in a day. But I don't know if it's that simple. But how about this? Shit happens, right? How are you going to deal with it? Sadness happens. So happiness is never going to be full circle. And I think that some people nowadays with social media, you can have, I don't know, 2,000 friends on fucking social media, right? And then you got, you're constantly seeing all these fucking people happy. It's a joke. And the joke's on you for thinking, oh my God. I mean, you go through it and you're like, oh my God, because you have a bad day, you usually don't post that shit. And then you're thinking, wow, everyone else is doing so goddamn good. Whom you are responsible for making yourself happy. Nobody can really do that. I can understand that. Oh God, so true, Coach. Thanks, Patricia. Listen to not all relationships are meant to last. They aren't. That's a good point. And you know what, Clarabelle, be thankful for the fact that you had a good one when it was around, right? Friendships are like that. I mean, in my life, I'm a social person, and I've lived in different places and had different jobs. And each year to every 2 or 3 years, I've had a different quote unquote best friend, which I don't like the term best friend. I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, that's one of my favorite friends. Right? Obviously, your best friends you have the most history with, probably. But think about it like that. Like, how many people come in and out of your life that you were really close with at a job or in high school or in college, or you went on a trip somewhere and you met someone when you were there for 3 weeks and you just really hit it off. And then you release that and you're just like, that was a really cool person. It was really nice. Always want to change the word purpose to passion. There's a really interesting book that Deep Work by Cal Newport, and he tackles this in a really interesting way, that you don't necessarily always want to follow your passion into your career. What you do want to do is you want to find something that you can get really good at, that you enjoy doing the work of getting good at, and then make that your passion. Kind of an interesting perspective, I think. May, it's German sausage similar to a hot dog. Okay. We only see what we want to see mostly. That's absolutely true. In relationships, yeah, Rob. All right, folks. I do have to go. This has been lively. It's been good. Better than a hot dog. I said similar, so she gets a general idea. Yeah, a hot dog could be many things. Sometimes it takes years of reflection and comparison to realize that a lost friend or family member was great. That's so true. I mean, think about when someone passes away and how much I think that there's just this built-in human thing. If someone passes away, to not talk negative about them anymore. Does that make? I mean, I've seen this over and over again. Oh, I see those when I ask for English breakfast. They give that kind of sausage. Okay. So funny about English breakfast. Being from California, I don't even ever remember seeing the term English breakfast on a menu um, in America. And then you come out to, living in Thailand and stuff, they have English breakfast, American breakfast at these different cafes. And I'm like, who does beans with their breakfast? A lot of people do. Actually, I just don't like beans. Plus, we all have different attachment styles. I actually talk about that in the book that I think that people like the idea of having some categories, and that's why I created some categories for why a breakup happens. Now you guys make me hungry. It seems like a lot of places have breakfast all day now, huh? Just had a smoothie bowl today. Have you guys had that yet? That's a new invention, isn't it? The last year or 2 years, maybe someone's like, "Oh, those have been around for 5 years." It's like, why don't we have them in a straw? We had to change it to a spoon and some sprinkles on top. It's still a smoothie, right? 15 on deck. Thanks for the likes. I appreciate it, folks. If you have anything in the A&W here was all day breakfast. It's the go place for a lot of people. A&W, like A&W root beer, like the fast food place. Um, I drink English breakfast tea. Well, good for you. Um, what's the tea from Argentina? Terramata. I'm like number 5. What does number 5 mean? Oh, for the food, for the order. Oh yeah, root beer. When I was just home, my dad was getting root beers. I remember drinking root beer as a kid. Dad's root beer. All right, folks, I do I do have to go. It's curtains. I'll be back on deck tomorrow. Thanks for joining. Rob, IS, Patricia, it's always a pleasure. Judy Jack, always a pleasure. G Money, take it easy.